Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from a Frontier. Thanks for stopping by. Sub-Saharan Africa, Algeria's 81-year-old president, who's also suffered a stroke, is not the oldest world leader. He's not the second oldest world leader. He's not the third oldest world leader. AFP Graphics kindly tweeted on Africa's longest reigning leaders to get an idea of their longevity and their age. I take you back to an article I wrote in November 2014 on the occasion of the termination of beautiful Blaise Compaoré. And I started by saying out of a population of 17 million in Burkina Faso, over 60% are aged between 17 and 24, according to the World Bank. And this is another point to note. And I was saying at that time, what's clear is a very young, very informed, very connected youth, African youth dynamic is set to alter the existing equilibrium between the rulers and the subjects. And I said a rebalancing has begun. The average age of the 10 oldest leaders in Africa is 78 and a half. Paradoxically, the continent has the youngest population in the world with a median age of 19 and a half years. And this is the spread between leadership and those that are being led. Africa and the Vision thing was my article over the weekend. I started with Jorge Luis Borges. Reality is not always probable or likely. Then I was quoting Antonio Guterres, who was harking back to a Harold Macmillan speech made in 1960. The wind of change is blowing through this continent. Whether we like it or not, this growth of national consciousness is a political fact. Then I was analyzing the US Africa Command statement before the Senate Committee on the Armed Services, talking about the demographic dividend, or could it be time bomb, and that the fact that doesn't seem to be a political vision being articulated except from Abiy of Ethiopia, who seems to be sketching out a new African political horizon. And I said, this brings me to the vision thing. Where is it? Who's providing it? New Yorker's got an interesting article, The Historical Precedents of the Current Uprising in Sudan. In October 1964, Abdullahi Ibrahim, a member of the University of Khartoum Student Union, was taking notes for a symposium held in protest of the military dictatorship when he became an inadvertent chronicler of a defining moment in Sudan's post-independence history. Police sent in to break up the symposium shot Ahmed al-Qureshi, another student activist, in the head. The next day, tens of thousands of people turned out for Qureshi's funeral procession, fueling an uprising that coalesced around students and professional unions. A general strike paralyzed the country a few days later in what is popularly known as Sudan's October Revolution. The government was toppled within a month. These guys have been in government for 30 years and never faced a threat like this, not even from the rebels in the mountains of Darfur. Current protests are now in their 8th week. The regime appears prepared to ride out the people's revolutionary urge. It has taken measures to coup-proof itself by, among other things, keeping common soldiers who might sympathize with the people spread out in the rural areas, and reserving mostly special security forces to suppress political opposition in the capital. And then talking about big parties lost power slowly, a political vacuum emerged, corruption funded by oil wealth wasn't just intrinsic, it was a way of doing this kind of politics. This was during the oil boom, late 90s and the 2000s. Unspoken contract between the government and the upper classes. Government would be left alone in exchange for maintaining high subsidies for oil and bread and protection from violence. This is not a livable situation anymore, Al-Need said. We are more scared of law enforcement bodies than criminals. And this is an interesting point. A younger, increasingly multicultural population, including people displaced internally because of the wars, has fractured the regime's project of imposing an Islamist identity on the country. At the same time, the involvement of Darfuri students in the current protests has challenged the regime's propaganda and established a sense of unity in the capital. Even with fear, El Tayeb said, the people have decided that the government has to go. And then I went to the article I wrote on the 21st of Jan, when I spoke about this revolutionary song we sing in our prison as you tremble in your castle. And I concluded by saying Bashir is a political Harry Houdini, otherwise he would not have lasted more than 3 decades. But it's clear these are the last days or end times. South African oil shares up 1.27% this year. Dollar versus rand 13.7896. Egyptian pound 17.6. Since Buhari came to power in May 2015, the Nigerian stock market has fallen more than any in the world, dropping 50% in dollar terms. Nigerian oil shares up 1.12% this year. Ghana Stock Exchange is down 3.13% this year. Kenya shilling, very strong. We're up about 1.7% year to date. The stronger performance of Nairobi stock market may be explained by a sell Nigeria, buy Kenya trade that we understand to have been popular this year with the offshore community. Nairobi oil shares up 14.25% year to date. NSE 20 is up 7.98% year to date. This is Government Road, now Moy Avenue, in 1960, from K Researcher. Thank you for stopping by. I'm always grateful.